to order. Mary Ellen, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tedesco?
Present.
Commissioner Volpe?
Here.
Commissioner Klock?
Here.
Commissioner Wallowski?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Caird?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Kobiel? Alternate Commissioner Coles?
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Ma?
Here.
Commissioner Santago?
Here.
Vice Chair Salka?
Here.
Chair Hammersley.
Thank you. We have a quorum. I'll let the record show that Commissioner Tessa Moss will be seated in place of Robert Hammersley, who's currently on vacation. Would you please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please just remain standing in a moment of reflection, please? Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 1st meeting, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any changes or deletions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, the minutes have been approved. Anything from the commissioners, any discussion? Anything of interest?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So I have kind of a, I think, pretty exciting and interesting thing for the commission, and I will ask to add with the commissioner's permission, item E to our business meeting. And so as part of the regulation review subcommittee, and I have to give all credit to Mary Ellen for this request. So as you'll recall, our charge is to look at regulations, make them better, review, and all that. And most towns, when they do that, incur a consultant to come in and do that. We've been not wanting to do that. Well, Mary Ellen, and correct me when I say the wrong thing, has in her existing budget, underspending on a particular line item, it would allow us to fund a phase one. And she already has gone out for 3 bids. 2 have come back. And what a phase one would do would be to rewrite the current regulations to be more user-friendly, both print and online. As you know, even though they're on our town website, they're really just PDFs. They're not sortable. They're not digitized. And so it allows us to sort and add some visuals and things like that. And also it would do a forensic audit of all our regs to see, are we compliant with current law and that kind of thing, and see for inconsistencies, and to, for better or for worse, say, here's a direction you can go. And so the other night, I think Caleb made a great point when he said, and correct me, Caleb, I want to mischaracterize your words, we could be at this 2-3 hours a month for the next, I don't know how many years, and not reach the point that this would give us in 2-3 months. And so for us, I think it's good. And I also think it's good because to pay for a full look at it, we may not know how much work is there. So if after this phase one, we get a direction, maybe there's some things we could do ourselves at no cost, or staff could do. But if there's some things that need more robust looking at, then we can make a further determination cost-wise. So I think it's a great thing for us. Certainly a legacy thing, and we would have, we and the public, more importantly, would have a more user-friendly, easier to use set of regulations. And so, Caleb, feel free to add.
Thank you. No, I don't have a lot to add, but I would just encourage the voting members of the commission I would urge you to consider and approve a measure like this, because it is important for us to modernize our code to make sure that the public can easily access it, and to make it easier for us to review it also. And I think it, and like Peter said, this will give us the ability to make sure that the things that are existing in it are appropriate with regard to state statute, and we're in line with we're good with the law, so to speak.
Right.
And I think that this will help us a lot.
Right.
And again, like you said, is for a small group of us, of a subcommittee, to try to do this work. It's to do the right thing, to get it all done from not just from a time management perspective, but a level of professionalism that, while we all have very good intentions and bring a lot of important disciplines to the table, this isn't necessarily exactly in our wheelhouse. And by allowing a consultant who does this sort of thing to go in and pick it apart and really dig into it, I think it would be an advantage to the town.
Right. And so I believe, and Mary Ellen, please correct me, why we need to add it to the business meeting is to give you permission to go to the town council so that that line item can be spent that way. Is that correct? So that's what we would be voting on, to allow her to go and ask for that particular set of funds. So with permission, I'd like to add item E, Mr. Chair.
Could we have a motion just to add item E to the agenda?
So motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? You had something?
I did. So the food truck subcommittee, we have a tentative date for a meeting. We are just waiting on, I only have one other restaurateur that currently is participating, and I'm hoping to hear back from another that went from being a food truck business to being a brick and mortar. So in town, and they're going to be opening up here soon. So no spoilers, but so I am hoping to have them on, but we do have a tentative date, and I can distribute that to the commission if you'd like to be a part of that conversation, with a goal to have something by the end of April, early May, when we start to see these, as we did last year, these applicants for food trucks, as the warmer weather comes, ensure that we have something a bit more definitive if that is determined. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
My update.
Okay. I'd like to add item F to the agenda, which is an 824 referral. It'll be identified as MR 564. We'll identify that as F on the agenda. Can I have a motion to add F to the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
A second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. F is on the agenda. The public hearing, we'll open the public hearing. Item 8A, that's basically been withdrawn, as I understand it. So we'll go to item B on the agenda, and that is the Carrier Group, Inc., special permit application for a six-lot open subdivision, property located at 927, 935, and 951 Shuttle Meadow Road, owned by the Tessell family, LLC, in an R80 zone. That's SPU number 658. This is a continued from the February 1st meeting. Will the applicant or his representative please come forward, please? State their name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, and commission members. For the record, Stephen Judas with the office of Harry Cole & Son, located 876 South Main Street in Plantsville, here on behalf of the applicant. The Carrier family is also here, and Mr. Tessell is in the back, if you have any.
Could you just speak up a little bit, please?
Yeah, I apologize. I should be used to this by now. I was saying the Carrier family is here, as well as Mr. Tessell, if you have any specific questions for them. Get this up and going. So at the last meeting, I kind of handed out these handouts. I didn't bring more. I don't know if you guys saved them or not, but I do have it here on the screen. We did go before the Conservation Commission, and we did receive a favorable vote from the Conservation Commission. They were happy with the plan and voted in favor of our application. And we also received the NDDB paperwork back from the DEP. Box turtles, I think what I thought it would be, and that's what it is. They gave us specific guidelines, which we would adhere to during construction. It's exclusionary fencing with silt fence is what they require, and then there's specifics as to walking the site prior to the start of construction each day, just checking for box turtles. Which way they walk is the direction that you pick them up, and you put them on the other side of the silt fence if you find them within the site. It's very common for this type of soil and this type of terrain to see box turtles. So I wasn't surprised that that's what we would see from that report. So we did submit a letter on our behalf, and also including that to the planning department. So that is on file, and there's will be incorporated as part of this proposal. At the last meeting, we talked a little bit about the parcels and the conventional as of right subdivision that we had proposed or shown, and then the proposal and some of the modifications that we made to the plan, including conservation easements around the sides and the rear, and then enhancements to the open space at the front of the property. And we gave you some ideas of what we would like to construct and why we think that this would be a nice addition to the entrance for people just visually driving by, and for the residents in the area and on the development itself. We've also submitted revised plans to staff. I believe that the plans have been reviewed by Mary Ellen and Jim, and I'm not going to speak for them, but I think that we're in good shape with the plans. So I'd like to answer any other questions the commission has for me, and I know we still have the public. If someone wants to speak in favor, I'd just like to be able to respond to any comments that you guys have, or anyone from the public. Any additional questions for me?
Yes, go ahead.
Always. So I'm looking at the responses to questions here about the open space providing passive benefit. Can you kind of elaborate on your response? Like, did anything change from when we last saw it?
Not much has changed. I think our intention for the passive enjoyment was the walking path, the mode path, and just the area itself. Those comments were submitted after our last hearing. Once we had wetland kind of buttoned up, we just finalized the plans and submitted responses to the comments, and so nothing's changed. It's still presented as I proposed it to you at the last meeting.
Yeah, and I think, in my opinion, the idea of having the wildflowers with the path, if you, and this is a suggestion like I always have, but community involvement, such as like a butterfly garden or something like that, would kind of hit that passiveness a bit more, because it is encouraged to interact with the space, and that's, I think, the goal. I personally, if I were living there, would be, enjoying all the wildflowers and things. But I think the idea is to just have something interacting with it. So that's my suggestion.
So when we talk about butterfly, what type of, is it a structure?
No, it's just growing wildflowers in the right, Mr. Chair. It's growing wildflowers in the sense where butterflies will be drawn
attracted
to it.
to.
Yeah, and so this way, if you have young ones that are living in that area, they're going to spend time there seeing those butterflies, because there's a specific planting plan. That's what I was looking for.
Well, we would.
Foliage that is, your point is there's foliage that naturally does that. They're called butterfly bushes.
Yes.
Yes.
Or like,
That's
people
your
create
point-
whole
that's your point,
gardens.
right?
Yeah. We have like an organization in town, I think, that sponsors making those.
We can definitely incorporate that into this.
Yeah, I'm just throwing some ideas out there. But thank you,
Butterfly
Mr.
bushes do grow like crazy.
I
you've
don't
ever
know.
had
I
one.
just think I like the wildflower idea, something like that to hit that passiveness, to ensure that it's not just another space that isn't going to get mowed, and instead is something enjoyable.
This is an example of one of their other developments, and this is this is what they do.
Cool. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I just want to say that I greatly appreciate the clarity that you brought during your last presentation, especially when it came to where you guys could already apply and get this granted under normal circumstances anyway, but you took the time in order to make it more friendly to the space that would eventually be developed, no matter what. And also consider pollinator plants as well.
Yes.
We're definitely.
But anyway, I
Here's-
really do
here's-
appreciate your expertise.
Thank you very much. And I'm happy we got the NDDB back in time for this meeting, so you could know exactly what that was. Sometimes things work out with the state.
Steve, can you go back to the plan, or your proposed plan, please?
Yes.
So take me through again the open space acreage versus what you're calling conservation acreage.
Okay. So, as I mentioned at last meeting, conventionally, there's no requirement for open space if this was a conventional subdivision.
Right.
So any open space we're proposing here is above and beyond what we would normally have for this type of application. So our original application had basically 2.13 acres of open space and conservation area. And we basically bumped the open space. The open space was 0.37 acres, and then we bumped the conservation area up to 1.93 acres. And what's required by the regulation for preservation open space is 0.24 acres. So we're almost 8 times, kind of what we're trying to provide, almost 8 times of what's required per the regulation. And it was kind of an attempt to provide the required open space, which the regulation specifically says, but also provide passive areas and conservation areas, which is something else that the regulation gets into, is that there's opportunities to conserve, take those opportunities. And that was the reason, because I was sure when I came in with a small open space like this, the commission would be like, eh. So the idea was to provide additional areas to protect the wetlands, the ponds, and then at the last meeting we talked about increasing put a little buffer on the side yards to protect any future development or any future homes that might get built to the left or the right of the property. And that was the reason for the 15-foot conservation easements on the side, just to keep any homeowners from building right up to the property line, putting their sheds, 10 feet off, or garages. We propose that as an added benefit, an added area of preservation.
Okay. So the open space part, the 0.37 is at the bottom of the screen. That's basically
That is in this location.
That's
yeah.
that's the visual you just showed.
Yep.
And so the conservation part, aside from the edges, is at the top of the screen there. That's what you're calling that.
It's this hatched area here.
Yeah.
This hatched area here, and then all this hatched area around the back.
What's the green space that's not hatched at the top of their screen?
That's a proposed tree line. I mean, with every subdivision, we try to get an area that we think is reasonable for clearing limits. This is we have septic systems, we have houses, driveways, things like that, and we show an area that we anticipate that will most likely be cleared as part of this subdivision. It is a conceptual plan. Some people want more trees, some people want less trees.
But that is not included in your numbers.
No.
Okay, so what's included in your numbers is a thatched area and the area on the bottom.
Right. Yeah, the dark green area is just a wooded area that we did not count towards our preservation. That would be above and beyond.
You know how much that is? If you don't know, don't guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to assume it's probably about 2 acres.
I was just going to say, it looks about
Yeah.
the size of the other one. And so in your conventional subdivision, that there would be taken up. So you would clear trees in that case, is what you're kind of
Yes, sir.
saying.
And there's conventional, the homeowners can do whatever they want.
Yeah, with it. Yeah, like-
Obviously, they can't clear wetlands and things like that,
I
but
understand.
again, the intent was to provide some additional spaces that we can maintain, and there isn't a need to clear more area because the houses are all down low.
Yep. In the lot size, basically, it's in the middle of an R80.
So it's an
So this
R80
is
zone.
so you're going to R40, basically, right?
You're going to R40, but the regulation requires to provide a full acre. So an R40 zone only requires 40,000 square feet,
Right.
but the open space preservation regulation requires 43,560 square feet. So it's a full acre, where an R40 lot is slightly under a full acre.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if I live in one of those 2 back houses at the top,
Yep.
I can clear that land behind me if it's not wetlands? Or
So
not?
there's some upland review areas in here, but there are areas that could be cleared if they chose.
Okay.
But we didn't we didn't count that area towards the open space or the conservation easement. The numbers that I'm giving you do not include those areas.
Okay. Thank you.
Christina?
One more.
Yes.
It's not indicated in front of us, but just to be sure, is that pond going to remain there or is it going to be filled?
Absolutely remains.
Okay, cool.
The Wetland Commission
Yeah, squash that.
would not activate.
I think it was likely a cattle pond.
I can't tell you the definition.
It's
of it.
okay. I
It
looked
might
at an
be,
old
but-
map. I tried. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is that it, Steve?
That's it for my presentation. I'll wait until we hear from the
Okay.
public.
Is there anyone speaking in favor of this application? In favor?
Dave Tessell, 1250 Shuttle Meadow Road. I'm in favor of the project. I think it's a good improvement of what's there. I mean, I'm one of the owners of it, but it is a good plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor of this application? Anyone opposing this application? Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Pellegrino. I'm to the right, so the two sides of the green, butts my property. And I mean, they're going to build there no matter what. But my thing is, this open space thing is kind of like a joke because now they don't have to, they can't go for a hardship. So basically what they want to do is they want to say, well, give us an extra lot and we're going to, give you some conservation. Well, a lot of it's wetlands in the back. And I have trail cameras, a lot of it, there is a lot of wetlands in the back. So, like last time, the guy's like, well, we don't want to move the road in the back. Well, no, you don't want to spend the $50,000 to $70,000 more to put a road there and have one less lot. Couple things, my concerns right here is where the pond is in the back. So where the line is on the top, part of the pond isn't going to be in a conservation zone. So I think it should all be in that zone right there just because the animals do go there and they do drink all the way around. And, once you're there, yeah, you're supposed to get, permission from the wetlands. But once it's there, people are going to do what they're going to do. You guys aren't going to go there. And whatever needs to be done, you guys have to do today. Because once you approve a project like this, they could do whatever they want. Or, you know what I mean? Once, that's it. It's through. They could tell you whatever they want. Homeowner goes in there. Homeowner could do whatever they want. My question was to the left where the driveway used to be. If that's going to be 15-foot conservation, are they going to plant trees there or something? Because right there, that was a driveway there before, so there's nothing there now. And 15 feet seems like a lot. I put a piece of blue tape right here. It's from the wall to the tape. That's 15 feet. So conservation, okay, we have a lot of animals there. Black bear, deer, so homeowner goes, they put a fence up, which a lot of people do now. So now if I put up a fence, you're gonna have a 15-foot, path over there for the animals. So my thing is, and like I said, that open space in the front. To me, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Usually open space is connected to another space. Not that you're in the front, you're on both sides. So now, the animals are gonna go so they can get hit by a car even more. There's no sidewalks there. So now you have to look towards the future. So maybe 5 years, 10 years, they're like, guess what? We got to put a sidewalk in. Now you go 2-3 feet from there. Now you're going to put a sidewalk. You know what I mean? And, it's open space, you say, for Southington. I know you guys got different things. We got different things that, open space, events you do. Where are they going to park? You're not going to park on Shuttle Meadow. You know what I mean? It's a racetrack over there. That's another story, but, you're going to park on the cul-de-sac. How many people are you really going to fit over there? And the other green part right there on the plan, it says, right now it's like 50 feet of tree line. Well, guess what? If I buy one of those lots right there, I can cut right to the 15-foot mark. So if that's the case and you want to do something, you want to know something? Make the buffer. Make it 40, 50 feet. If you made it 40 feet, you're still like 57 feet from the house, still plenty of room to build put a pool in, a swing set. Your yard's still there. But, my whole thing is they want something from us, me being a Southern taxpayer and everything else. So you guys giving us this little half-acre thing in the front, and in the back, like I said, most of it is wetlands. You know, because up on the hill, which I don't understand how they did it, but it was there since I bought the house, where the road is, they cut I don't even know what you'd call it. They cut a thing with the curb in the road, so all the water from on top of Ledge Road, it all goes back there, right down the property, all from the road. You know, so, you know, there's a lot of wetlands back there. So, you know, this other guy last time says, oh, we'll go all the way back there and everything else. A lot of that stuff right there, you can't build over there. So I don't want them to come over here and try pulling the wool over anybody's eyes and be like, oh yeah, well, we'll come over here, we'll do this, this, and this. My thing is, give us more. You know what I mean? What are you doing on the side? That, you know, the pond in the back, bring it back 10 more feet. So now you know if the animals, which they all do go there to drink, now they're there, guess what? That still is their space. So if somebody can't get it and they can say, hey, guess what? We're going to chop everything down, you know, going up to, I think it's like 10 by 60. Because I was down planning and zoning today. It's like 10 by 60. That's how big of the pond isn't going to be on the conservation. And, you know, and then on my side of the property, just to the left, it's like 650 feet that's going to be there. And like I said, 15 feet is nothing. If you would say you're going to leave the wood there, you know, the forest, you know, whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm not used to talking in front of people. But you know what? Give it 30, 40, 50 feet. And in today's market, it's not a hardship. Who's ever going to buy that lot right there? If you say there's a 15 feet, you know, spot right there they can't build on, or if it's 40 feet, they're going to buy it just as quick. So it's what you really want to do, you know, for them, you know, build in an R80 zone. Because like I said, when I bought my house next door, I knew it was R80 zone. I always thought somebody was going to build one house back there. Because, you know, the rear lot, you need 5 acres. You know, but like I said, if I live there, I'm not going nowhere. Chances are, when I'm not here, one of my sons will probably move into my house. You know what I mean? But that's all I have to say. You know, I have to say, you know, whatever we do now, because I see, you know, I'm not going to say another builder in town, but I have properties near there, you know, develops and they did. You know, if it's not in black and white, it doesn't make a difference. We're going to do this, this, and this, and it's not there. So I say you know, I don't know. So the conservation, you know, instead of being 15 feet, bring it 30, 40 feet. What's the difference? All you're going to do is help the wildlife. Like I said, you're not going to get any less for the house. You know, you're not going to make any less profit. But I'm saying give us something. Because, you know, we're saving you $60,000, $70,000, not making the road bigger, and you have another lot that you're going to be able to sell and make money building the house. You know, it's a R80 zone, so, you know, give something, you know what I mean? It's, you know, it's supposed to go back and forth. You know, and like I said, me being there, you know, I don't want 15 feet. Make it a little, you know, make it a little bit more. Like I said, there is a lot of wildlife there, and like I said last time, I didn't realize we had a meeting February 1st or I would have been here. But like I said, the black bears, I first got there, you know what? You'd see one. Now I see them 6, 7 times. That's without me looking for them. You know, they're there. Like I said, all the building up on Plainville, they're all coming down. So like I said, you know, they're going to build it. There's nothing you could do about it, but you could tell them what they can and can't do. So, if we're letting them do another lot there, we're saving them doing, you know, building the road. And like I said, I wish they could do an open space towards the back, so at least it would, you know, go with the other area. Because like I said, that open space right there on, you know, in front of a racetrack, literally, in the front, you know what I mean, on a corner, that doesn't make any sense. You know, I would like to see if, you know, that hooked up to the back a little bit, you know, just, you know, for an open space, but. And like I said, my big thing is I would like to see, you know, 30, 40 feet down the side. It's not going to cost them anything. All it's going to do is stop another homeowner from knocking down the trees. And then old man Tony, I get older every day, old man Tony be like, no, you can't do this. You know what I mean? It's for the wildlife. But that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking against this application? Opposing this application? Hearing none. What is the desire of the group? You want to rebut?
He could
Yep.
answer. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, there's no attempt to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Unfortunately, the speaker wasn't at the last meeting and maybe didn't get to hear my rebuttal. Some of the changes that we made to the plan were based on comments that were received at the first meeting, and that was the purpose of the conservation, expanding the conservation easement and enhancing the open space and trying to show the commission what the carriers have done on their other projects in Farmington and Glastonbury and so on. As I mentioned before, the alternative is a conventional subdivision, which would be 5 R80 lots without any open space. There is wetlands on the property. We've identified those with a soil scientist, and he was at the wetland meeting. There's wetlands in this corner, there's wetlands around the pond, and then this whole area is wetlands over here into this property. And then there's a vernal pool over at this location. So we did flag the wetlands, we surveyed them, we presented them to the Wetland Commission, and they went through that. And we would not propose any construction on wetland areas with either development. And I think, as I mentioned before, there was incentives in the regulations to pursue an open space subdivision, and one of those incentives is the ability to get a lot or 2 lots or 3 lots, and depending on the property determines what that yield will be, but it's based on the regulation and the specifics of the regulation and what we can count a percent. We can count a percentage of wetland, a percentage of easement area, a percentage of floodplain, and then we have to deduct a percentage for roads, deduct a percentage for open space. And there's a whole formula that goes in by the regulation specifically that then determines what the eligibility is for how many lots this property can yield in an open space subdivision. So that's the formula that we follow, and that's how this application came to be. And I think when you look at this, if we look at, sometimes the devil is better than the devil you don't know, is the thing that came to mind. Because if I just presented this application, you could say, all the things that are wrong with it. But if you compare it to an open space subdivision, I think it's clear that this subdivision, even with an additional lot, is a much better development for the town of Southington, for the residents, for future maintenance, for preservation. It's something that we've talked about a lot about, and I think that this subdivision hits those marks. There's no hardship, there's no variances requested for this. This was done completely under your zoning and subdivision regulations. We have not gone before ZBA for any requests to do this. We don't do whatever we want. We try to follow the regulations that we have before us, and that's what we've done here. There isn't specific proposal to plant the left side. There is a 15-foot strip of land that comes from the road and goes up this property to this. And the intent was to, this strip going to get deeded to this home, and then this property will have a strip over here. So the idea was to preserve that area for the neighbor. And we can propose to plant that area, seed it, or put some trees in there if that was something that the commission thought would be beneficial. The 15-foot easement was kind of we didn't have anything on those side yards. After the first meeting, we said, let's put something in there that will keep the residents from getting too close to the properties. And we thought 15 feet was fair. It keeps things like sheds and accessory uses out of that area, prevents clearing from those areas. And if, again, if the abutting property owner wanted to propose another 15 feet on his sides, we'd have a nice 30-foot corridor. So I didn't think 15 feet was unreasonable. It was something that, again, we're trying to incorporate more things to make this development more attractive, I guess, not only to the residents, but to this commission as well, and to see the efforts that we're trying to make. As far as the open space, I don't think it's dumb. This is going to be privately owned. It's not going to be owned by the town of Southington. It'll be owned by the residents. And I think that what we're showing you is what is the least that you're going to see the carriers build there. I have experience with their developments, and they want a beautiful entrance that everyone in that neighborhood can be proud of and enjoy for years to come. And that's what they're proposing. And I was excited, to be honest with you, to be able to show you those pictures. When I saw them, I was like, this is awesome. We don't have anything like this. No one does anything like this in town with their subdivisions. We see this in Farmington, we see this in Glastonbury, we don't see it here in Southington. and we need it. It'd be nice, and I think it'd be a great addition to this neighborhood. We're proposing street trees again throughout the open space and throughout the road. I think this is going to be a beautiful, wonderful little subdivision if you so see fit to approve it. So, do you have any additional questions for me, sir?
Go ahead.
Upkeep will fall to the residents.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Mary Ellen, is there any way that we can stipulate that part of that tree line towards the back of the properties,
Talking
the
about
back
these
two
here?
properties, can be made? Oh no, back towards the wetlands.
Yep.
Is there any way we can stipulate that that tree line be maintained?
Outside of the conservation easement area?
Yeah.
Now,
We
which
would-
tree line, say that again.
So-
Which tree line are you talking about?
So there's the easement area, and then there's the tree line, which is another shade of green, coming away from the wetlands. Is there any way that we can, so around the wetlands, is there any way that we can stipulate that part of that tree line be maintained?
I think you probably could extend that conservation easement down along to the upland review area. But beyond that,
Yeah, I think that, again, these lots will be privately owned, and we would like these, if someone wants to have a barn or something out there, we want to have the ability to do something. This is not uncommon for subdivisions. We try to give you a good look as to what the anticipated clearing limits are going to be, but every house will be different. Some will have more trees than I'm showing, and some will have less trees than I'm showing. So I'd be reluctant to want to stipulate the tree line as our area. If that was the case, then I would show the whole parcel, being cleared up to the upland review areas, because just to be safe, so we're trying to, when we lay something out like this, we're trying to give you an honest look as to what we think things are going to be. But this is a conceptual plan. These house footprints will change. The driveways may go left or right. They may be front entrance driveways. They may be, all these things are subject to change on a per lot basis.
Right.
Peter?
So Steve, you just said something. So the two lots at the top.
Yep.
In white would appear to be that's the lot size. But do those lots, with those two lots at the top, go back up to the easement?
So first of all, there's a connector light and power easement that runs through here.
Okay.
So from this line right here to
Yeah.
this line right here is a connector light and power easement.
Yeah,
But these lots this lot would be all of this area.
it is.
This lot would incorporate that conservation easement. This lot would come up and incorporate a portion of this conservation easement. And these lots would come out to the far lines and incorporate.
All right. So
Those
that's really,
conservation easements are ways of conserving land on private
Got it.
private lots.
so that's really the lot size. So
Yeah.
go back to the conventional subdivision. So really, in a conventional subdivision, you're using all that space in this conceptual plan. If you go to what you're proposing, go back down, you could have extended the white, if you will, to the whole lot size and just say, well, there's that there. So really, in theory, even though you have an easement there, that's really the lot size. And so those two people, whoever buys that, wanted to clear those trees, they could and put whatever they want there, right?
Well, they could clear the trees. You can't construct anything in the connector
In
light
the,
and power.
I get that
Right.
part. But you want to put a barn back there, you want to
Yeah,
do something.
if you want to put a barn back there or have some horses,
or what have you.
Right,
Right?
yep.
Because that's really the size. So really, those two lots, there's not the white mark. It goes all the way back.
goes all the way back. Yeah. Right.
And so that land before would be developed because you would clear it and what have you. This, you're not showing it, but it could because
It could be.
because
Absolutely.
they own it. So okay. And you would do it with 5 versus 6. Got it.
Yeah, I think, again, the clearing limits are something that I think staff likes to see and have an idea of what the proposal is. But, it's a fluid thing. It changes. It's not something, every homeowner has a different agenda and a different opinion.
I get it.
So
All right.
Our attempt here is to provide open space, passive open space, and preservation through conservation easements.
Yes. No, I needed to understand,
Yeah.
the size. I think whatever gets built, I mean, Carrier is known for having quality things.
Right, and
I think whatever gets built there, I've never seen a Carrier division or subdivision or a Carrier home be anything other than first class.
First class top quality. And I guess I
Whatever
just
it
want to go back to this because it's not the prettiest subdivision, but it works. And it is 5 lots. I agree. We are proposing an additional lot. But I think that even if one of those homeowners said, I want to put a barn back there, I want to have some horses or a dog kennel or something, I still think you're going to have more preservation on our application, our proposal, than you would if we went with a conventional subdivision. And that's really the benefit of this application. I just think wholeheartedly that it's just a better plan. And it does have open space and it does have preservation.
Thank you. Stephen Keel.
Steve? I just had a quick question regarding the plant list with the street tree proposals. Some of those species are great native plants, but they're not street trees, so let's maybe fine tune that.
We're struggling with that a little bit because the regulations have specific trees that we can pick off of, and previous commission member didn't like those trees, so we're trying to come up with other trees.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I'd be more than happy
to sit with you for a
put
minute.
in there
and let's figure
whatever.
something out.
Yes, whatever.
3 out of 5 are not appropriate street trees.
I'm not an arborist, and I appreciate any direction that staff or you can give us on preferable trees.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just before.
Any other questions from the board? Caleb?
I'll throw it out there. So, bear with me. Using some of what Mr. Pellegrino said with regard to the passive open space in the front, what if that passive open space in the front was then moved to the back instead? Again, I'm throwing this out there. And so we would extend or improve upon the buffer between that and the wetland area.
I guess my thing would. Do you think? I don't think it would be used if we did that, but.
And then the second question is, if something like that was to be done, how would you really, in total, enforce that? You know, it's out in the backwoods. Is it ever going to be possible to say, you know what, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind at that point? You know, somebody who owns that rear lot knows well enough not to go build their barn on the wetland because the barn will fall. But if we were to buffer that a little bit more, I'm trying to expand upon what Mr. Pellegrino said and to see if it's even possible to do that. And I'm not sure if it will be helpful because, like you said, once it's built, you can kind of do what you want.
We could easily make this square the open space and get rid of this completely, but I don't know what the benefit of that would be. You know? And I think, with all due respect to Mr. Pellegrino, he's one person who has an opinion on this subdivision, where I think there are probably, there are other people who would think that open space is acceptable and desirable. So, if the board feels strongly about that, we can take a look at it and we can try to exchange that area out. But again, I was excited about what their proposal was.
I like the way it looks. I just wanted to dig a little bit into the conversation just to expand upon what the points that he made.
Yeah, I not everything's for everyone, I think, and I think the carriers have been in this business for a long time, and they have a pretty good feel as to what their people are looking for and what they're willing to be responsible for and what they want their developments to look like. I guess it's subjective. We could move things around all over the place, and come up with 3 different things that 3 different people like, so it's kind of we kind of do our best and we throw something up here that we're hopeful that this commission will find favorable, and we try to make adjustments based on comments that we hear. If there's something really the commission feels strongly about that we haven't hit the mark on, then I would say, we'll continue this and we'll go back to the drawing board. But if there's something like that, I'd love to, please tell me, because we'll keep working.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Thanks, Caleb.
Go ahead.
One more. I know this is a marathon at the last minute,
No, it's
but
all right. It's okay.
is the property on the top right that's not 3 acres, is it?
This here?
No, just that entire lot.
Parcel,
Yeah,
yes, it's more than 3 acres actually.
Okay.
The intent is honestly the ability to have horses on that property, if not.
Okay. Yeah, that's just what I was asking about. I want to clarify.
Any other questions? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, sir.
Is there any reason to
For your
keep
time.
this application open? Hearing none, we don't need a vote, right?
No.
No. This application is closed. Thank you. That closes the public hearing for this evening. We'll go into the business meeting. Item 9A, that's been withdrawn. We'll go to item 9B, the Carrier Group, special permit application for a 6-lot open space preservation subdivision, property located at 927, 935, and 951 Shuttle Meadow Road, owned by the Tessell family, LLC, in an R80 zone, SPU number 658. This was tabled from the February 1st meeting. Is there any discussion on this item? Can I have a motion for this item?
I'm not ready to have a motion, but just, I'm still very much in a quandary. I don't know, I'd like to hear what people think about this in regards to where we are on things. So, because I'm myself trying to decide my thoughts. The preservation is not exactly what I thought it was. The open space in the front, it's a nice thing in regards to, I live there, it looks nice. I don't know if about open space, however. It's a nice amenity to the folks who have a little community built for them, but I'm not sure it meets the criteria there. So, me, myself, it's like a game time decision for me.
You're on the fritz.
I really, usually when I hear open space subdivision, I'm all in on it. Because a lot of times it's a lot of acreage. It's a lot of things. We usually talk about big things. This is smaller and I'm on the fence. So I don't know what people think about it.
Christine?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I mean, from my perspective, after what was just like a lengthy discussion, and I appreciate that, is that we've accepted open space parcels for less and with less, and I think that the applicant has made it clear that he does attempt to want to create a more passive environment in this space. I mean, if we think about it, again, I'm coming back to the wildflower idea. Not every passive open space area needs to be this big thing. However, I do hear what the public is saying in regards to, I would have a bigger quarrel about it if it was going to be something that the public would be parking at, right? It seems to me like it's going to be just a nice springtime meadow-esque environment. And I think when we're talking about these sort of subdivisions is that we've approved far uglier ones. This one came to us with a bit of a bow on it, in that it's going to be aesthetically pleasing to the environment as well, because you're not going to have that immediate, you're not going to see the subdivision immediately as you're going around there, right? You're going to see this sort of green space and then the new road, right? But it's conformity-wise, it's still kind of set back, and maybe I'm misspeaking in that regard. I also value that the applicant, after these 2 meetings now, has gotten the wetlands approval, has showed the indication that they want to preserve the pond and the wildlife around it. Again, as a body of elected volunteers here, we try to work within our regulations and promote the POCD in my opinion, this applicant has tried to hit all of those marks. Again, we're not always going to be able to, we do have that ability to go back and forth a little bit here, but when it comes to hitting all the marks that we usually like to hit, it looks attractive. It has tried to preserve and maintain. Something will get built there anyway, as we've discussed, and it's fitting within our regulations as we see it right now with the adaptation, the way the applicant did it. So with that being said, I do feel that I can go ahead and make a motion to approve this, unless there's further discussion, which I'm happy to have. I love it. It's all, let's do it. I like the pond.
I'll have further discussion.
Go ahead.
I want to just reconcile that open space preservation development is a trade-off. And as Commissioner Santiago, sorry,
I answered everything. Fine.
has pointed out, it doesn't seem as though there's a trade-off for the density. And I know maybe someone could say, well, we're just talking about one house. Okay. Well, we're not talking about that much open space as a trade-off. And I think there's a precedent in this R80 zone that we also need to think about and talk about. You have massive plots of land surrounding, and what precedent are we setting?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I agree with Commissioner Clock's sentiment about setting a precedent here, and also the idea of having, a 3-acre space where there's possibly a barn and livestock living on it. I don't know if I could personally make the best decision this evening.
The precedent has already been set. We're not setting a precedent.
Is that idea?
I don't understand those comments.
No, I know. The public hearing is closed. I understand. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? We have a motion. We need a second. Anyone second the motion?
It's going to get even more awkward in a moment.
Okay,
I'll just reiterate, Mr. Chair, for this evening, that we have actually, when we're talking about precedents, and please let's not focus on that word, because every applicant is different as long as we're looking at our regulations. But I will reiterate again, we have literally passed less with less activity as an open space area with the same guys. So if maybe precedent isn't the word, maybe continuity is the word. If we're going to go this direction for this one, let's kind of stick to our guns going forward is what I might recommend. And I've never had a problem reminding this commission of that. So again, we can go ahead if we'd like. Someone else can make the motion to wait another meeting if you need more time. But I kind of came in here tonight like, we've already, we've been seeing this a little bit for a while. So I don't know, again, what's going to change between now and the next meeting in regards to how this particular parcel can be fitted to have that space according to what houses and the position, like all the things that we've seen. I'm sure there is a way to work it out. We certainly, again, can do that. But as it's been presented to us and modified and looked over by Wetlands, and, I don't really know what more we can, or this applicant can go ahead and not do that at all, right? Not give us that little space at all. So I feel more apropos to be in agreement with having it than to forsake it. And let's say have something completely different go there, because like we said before, something can get built, and we have approved lesser looking ones. I just think this one looks nice.
okay.
You keep mentioning that this body has approved applications for less, but does that mean we have to then blanket approve?
No, absolutely not. I'm not insinuating that at all. I'm just saying if we're gonna if we're talking about setting a precedent, we need to look at the one that we've already set. And in that doesn't really make sense because today isn't the day that we start setting the precedent. The idea is that a precedent has already been established and now we're navigating from it. So I guess I would just say again, continuity, that if we decide to not approve this, that I will bring up this conversation again next time something similar comes before us, as I have in the past.
Well, I think precedent in
We're getting stuck on the word.
I am because I'm looking, part of our job is to align development with the surrounding area and what is and what makes sense. And when I'm looking at the surrounding area, it seems as a precedent has been set, which is not more density. So that's why I'm using that term.
Okay.
So semantics, and I don't know, but
No, I agree. I think that's the tough decision when it comes to receiving any kind of subdivision like this. And that's the reason why it's here, right? It's for us to say, is this apropos to what we're looking at? Does it conformity to
Yes,
the
and-
surrounding zone around
and
it?
that's why that's the conversation I would like to have. If we're having a conversation, I would like to have that conversation because
I'm here
I think
for it.
that we have a very minimal R80 zones left. And again, I'd like to point out very large plots in this direct area. And so I think we need to talk about what is in line with the area. I think that would help a lot of people make a decision.
I'll remove myself and give my other commissioners a chance to speak on that, since we didn't really have much of that discussion 3 minutes ago.
Commissioner Walski.
I'd like to say, I'd just like to agree with Commissioner Volpe, that I don't think this needs to be open past tonight. I think we need to have whatever discussion we're going to have and figure this out tonight. There's not going to be any additional information coming forward. I think we have everything we need to make a decision and that we owe it to the applicant to make that decision tonight.
I agree with that. So, Mr. Chair, I guess where I'm getting a little hung up on the two conventional versus open space. When we looked at both ones, I got the open space in the beginning, and I understand that. I agree with you; it's a beautiful thing. So I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But when I looked at how much lot would be used for 5 versus 6 houses, in reality, all of it's going to be used for both 5 and for 6. So if I put the conventional, it's quote unquote used. I got a house there. In the other one, the house is lower, but it could be used. So it's not that it isn't. And that's when I asked that question, I guess the conservation thing at the top of the zone isn't. I understand that. But in reality, those two lot sizes at the top are still there. And so I'm not, to Jen's point, which is the trade-off, because of that, and that's where I got stuck, is there. Because the trade-off of open space versus conventional is not as great as we did in the past. I agree with the conservation at the top, but when I look at a trade-off of lot sizes 5 versus 6, and what it is, it's not as great as it would be per normal, where we get like acres of space, whatever, and it's unused. Those lots, even though the two property owners would have it, it's just the way it's portrayed is not necessarily used, but it could be. And so if I have 6 houses there, it's all used. If I have 5, it's all used. And so really, there wasn't that trade-off except for at the bottom, which I agree is a very nice thing for that. That's where I'm getting hung up, because the way the lots are, the way it was portrayed is not as much of a trade-off there as it was. That's where, that's where I don't know if I'm
I hear you.
being intelligent about
No, I'm hearing you.
about where I am on that.
I get it. I think it would be different though if this was, if we're talking again about conformity, it's not it's not just one house though. They're subdividing that land. So either way, we have to figure out a way for that to fit, conform, and be aesthetically pleasing to it. I don't know how many other ways he can flip this around to come to us in a place where we'll be like, yeah, go ahead. You know, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could do 6 tomorrow. He
Exactly.
doesn't get our approval. He could just.
That's what I'm saying.
He could just go do that.
I'd rather have that and the pretty butterfly garden, unless we want to keep it open and have them come up with a different, you know. So again, I digress, and I would love to hear from my fellow commissioners their thoughts from that end of the table, if they have any for the class, because it's robust and I like it. We're having a robust discussion.
Any other thoughts?
I like the way it looks with the open space. I mean, the plots are like symmetrical looking, where and the one where it's not, they're large. I don't know how they're broken up, but they don't flow as nicely. But are people going to clear their entire yard of trees in the conventional like neighborhood? Probably not. I have 3 acres where I live. That's a lot to clear, you know. So would there be more trees if you kept it like the R80 with the conventional lots? I don't know. Do I think it would flow and look really nice from that street? I think so, you know, but it would look more like a traditional neighborhood we see all over versus
The open
When that
space
would-
when you're saying.
right the open space, right?
Okay.
I think it looks aesthetically very nice, where the other one would be more of a unique neighborhood though, because you're in an R80 with big different lots, I guess. So
Okay.
and the back lots are less appealing on if you didn't make it an open space. Am I right? Like when you look at it, those 2 back lots change drastically. So.
Mr. Chair.
No, that's fair.
I think something else just to keep in mind is regardless of which plan it is that if someone purchases a lot, they can clear whatever they
Right.
Sure.
For the most part, it's personal ownership rights. So I think we're debating a point about trees that may or may not exist, but it's not our decision to rule on that. So it's like, which subdivision do we like better? Because something's going to happen. I think we just, again, like I said, I think we should establish this now and move forward.
Okay, we have a motion. We don't have a second. And I sort of agree that, you know, we're not going to get anything different
Yeah.
by holding it open another 2 weeks or whatever the period of time is. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, would you
Well,
please?
just
I'm sorry.
I
almost had it.
A long break.
Almost had it.
because it's an important
No,
thing.
it is.
Oh,
Absolutely. Go
absolutely.
ahead, Peter.
No, because it's an important thing.
No, I want to hear it.
This is this is not site plan, right? So
We're voting on the special permit,
you're voting on special permit.
which
Right.
again, doesn't that's a case by case. This is not a blanket approval for everything that comes down the road. This is being proposed in a professional way that
Agreed.
makes it seem desirable and we can have oversight on it.
Right. I guess so the special permit I get it. But is the second one site plan or do they have to come back with site plan? Was this a proposed site plan, Marianne? So what?
This is a special permit and a subdivision application.
All right. So do they have to come back with a site plan or no?
This
So
is
what
it.
we approve is what we approve.
What we see is what we.
What we see is what we get, right?
What we get.
Okay. So I guess my question is everybody good with the setbacks and all their other thing, or the space on the side as one of the residents talked about, or any other stipulations that we have? Or are we good with everything?
I guess, Mary Ellen, what is within our purview to extend that 15-foot buffer? As our regulations, as I see it, we really don't have much other than what has
Yeah,
been
I
proposed
didn't
in
think
front
so,
of us.
right?
Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, you probably should have asked the applicant.
At the time, right?
Prior
Yeah, so,
to-
okay.
Yeah, so
Alright, I'm
my
up.
motion stands.
Okay.
I wish we talked this much about like all the other ones.
I think it's like we have a short agenda, so we like probably.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. Mary Ellen, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Tedesco?
Yay.
Commissioner Volpe,
Yes.
Commissioner Clock,
No.
Commissioner Wolowski,
Yes.
alternate Commissioner Ma,
Yes.
Commissioner Santiago,
It's all right, Peter. You're gonna be okay.
No.
Vice Chair Salka.
No. Motion passes 4-3.
That was a hard vote.
Yeah.
Bound to be one every now and then.
I don't know.
Okay. Moving on to item C. Carrier Group, Inc., application for a 6-lot open space subdivision, property located at 927, 935, and 951 Shuttle Meadow Road, owned by the Tessell family, LLC, in an R80 zone. This is S1332, tabled from the February 1st meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
Well, I guess that was my question. So the first one was for subdivision. What's this?
No, this was, the first one was special.
Special
Special
permit
permit.
Special permit.
for the open
This one's
space,
for Subdivision.
and
So-
then this one's the subdivision.
So this is subdivision. So the first one was just for a special permit in
The
order to
open
do
space
this.
subdivision, correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second?
Got it.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Discussion, please.
Formality.
I just do want
Commissioner
to.
Locke.
I just do want to comment that I do. I wanted to make sure. I do appreciate the application and how malleable that you were towards all of the comments, and I just didn't want that to go unsaid.
Agree.
So I wanted that on record because that does make it easier, and there was a lot of visuals that made it, a difficult decision be made. So.
No, I totally agree. I agree with Jen. I think everything's done in a professional way. So if for people's benefit, you haven't seen a carrier home. It's
Thank you, Peter.
freaking beautiful. And so whatever they do is first class stuff. So as far as that, there's no debate about that. And I
Right,
think
right.
things were done in a professional way, and I have no doubt whatever goes there is going to be a beautiful thing.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll, Mary Ellen.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Commissioner Volpe,
Yes.
Commissioner Clock,
No.
Commissioner Wolowski,
Yes.
alternate Commissioner Ma,
Yes.
Commissioner Santiago,
No.
Vice Chair Salka.
No. Motion passes 4-3.
Just consistency.
Okay, moving on. Item D, George Lukopoulos,
Nice.
request for reapproval of expired site plan for a 12,600 square foot building, property located at 122 Spring Street, Building E, in an I-1 zone, SPR 1682-.1. This was tabled from our February 1st meeting. Can I have a motion, please?
Can I get some background on what this is before I vote on something?
Go ahead. Tabled a bunch
This
of
is
times, right?
up
This is
before I
not-
was even a commissioner.
Yeah.
This is an old one, so,
Yeah.
Just a
basically it had to go back before Wetlands for reapproval, which I believe it's recently been approved, so now it's back on to, planning and zoning agenda. I think this is for the last building. There's a number of buildings located at 122 Spring Street. This would be Building E, but I think A through D
right.
have been already built.
So this site plan was already approved.
Yep.
It just they were waiting for
Wetlands.
wetlands approval.
Yeah, it
So this is
expired.
just extension of the timeline for their site
It
plan.
actually expired, so they had to reapply.
Reapply. So this is already been approved. So we don't really have purview not to. So this is just, for lack of a better word, administrative. Is that, not to put words in anybody's mouth, but basically what this is?
Yeah, technically you have another crack at the apple, bite at the apple, but, we did approve it once before.
Okay.
And if he was in the timeline, it would have been already built by now.
Okay. Gotcha.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the staff comments page, like where it's talking about the reapproval from 2014. Can I just get some clarification? I don't know if it's my lack of coffee or what, but like it says here, on November 5th, 2014, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to approve the above referenced site plan application for the reapproval of a 12,600 square foot building, subject to the following stipulations. And it says all responses dated November 5th, 2014 to staff comments shall be compiled with prior issuance of zoning permit. What does that mean? Like, so if we stipulate it tonight, does that mean we have to say the same thing? Like, do we have to add in, is this recommending an added stipulation this evening?
I think all you have to really say is with previous stipulations.
Okay.
And we'll add on whatever stipulations that we had put in place back in 2014.
Okay.
This was, I believe this was reviewed, by, this was, I think, before me too. So I think Dave, this was reviewed by Dave, and I do recall talking to him. And I think if you just say approve with the stipulations that were already in place, you're covered. We're good.
So at this point, staff has no issues with this moving forward?
10 years ago.
Okay, do we have a motion now?
I'll make a motion to approve SPR 1682.1 with previous stipulations.
Second?
Second.
We have a second. Any more further discussion? Hearing none. Mary Ellen, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tedesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Volpe?
Yes.
Commissioner Clock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wulowski?
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Santago?
Yes.
Vice Chair Salt?
Yes. Motion approved, 7-0. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item E.
Oh, is E mine?
This is you.
E is mine. All right. As I think I explained what E was, and so I think it's very exciting for this commission to have that. And for lack of a better word, if things come the way it is, I think it's a nice legacy thing for us, and it gives us a good plan to move forward. I should say too that I didn't previously, but the subcommittee of Caleb, Joe, and myself would act as, de facto steering committee, coming back to this commission to direct, whoever we bring in behavior. So they just wouldn't go off and do whatever it is. The subcommittee would act in that regard so that there would be some direction for it, and we would come back to the full commission for that. So just an aside on that. I neglected to say that before. So I would, and I have it, Mary Ellen, help me, what I'm supposed to say. I move to conduct a phased approach to updating zoning regulations as previously discussed, and authorize staff to make such recommendation to the town council.
Second.
That's your motion, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Rice is the charm.
Please call the roll, Mary Ellen.
Commissioner Tedesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Volpe?
Yes.
Commissioner Clock?
Yes.
Commissioner Wulowski?
Yes.
Alternate Commissioner Ma?
Yes.
Commissioner Santago?
Yes.
Vice Chair Salka?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item F, which is an 824 referral to purchase some open space, 11.29 to be exact, acres on 800 East Street. And the purchase price would be $180,000. And this is a referral back to the town council. And this is MR number 564. Basically, a little background on this property. It was part of a trust from Judith Korn, and in her will, she stipulated that the property would be first offered to the town, and it must be offered at the appraised value at the time of her passing. And as I stated before, the property is valued now at $180,000. And I don't know, have you seen the documents and the layout? If you look at slopers on East Street and you're standing on in front of slopers, there's a driveway on the right, and on the right-hand side of that driveway, there's some, I think some soccer fields. To the right of that is this property, 800 East Street. It's 11.29 acres. It's a beautiful piece of property. There's parking in that. The town owns a parcel that's next to it, which can be used for parking. So there's a contiguous open space currently owned by the town. And there's a lot of hiking trails in there. Just an ideal piece of property. So we're looking at an 824 referral back to the town council, and then they can move forward with the purchase of this piece of property.
Well,
So can I have a motion, please?
Motion to
Motion
approve.
to approve?
Is that I approve of the eight?
a positive 824.
Oh, to
Right.
put forth a positive 824.
That's how you have to say it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And
Favorable recommendation.
having served, yes, a favorable recommendation, more than favorable. Having served on open space, you know that these opportunities do not come often. They're almost once in a lifetime, and thankfully, once in Miss Karen's lifetime, and so much appreciative of that opportunity. So,
Thank you. Second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion?
I just think for 1129 acres to get it for $180,000. I think the town is well served by that. And so that's very positive. So, very grateful to that family for that. And I think the Open Space Committee who are on it are yet again doing some great work there.
And when you think about it, the town right now still has over $1 million in their open space budget. So it's,
Oh, is that right?
yeah.
Is there a plaque we can put somewhere?
I'm sorry?
Is there a plaque we can put somewhere?
I was thinking
Look at him asking about plaques.
I'm sure that Commissioner
good thought,
Chaplinsky will have something to say about that.
Right.
But I think that's a
Oh, it's
great
oh,
that's a
okay.
great thought for somebody who puts that forward. A family like that deserves some permanent
Well,
recognition.
one of the
I think that's
things,
great.
just as some
It's a joke,
additional
but in all
background
seriousness.
before we
Yeah.
go forward, and I talked to Commissioner Clark about this, is that we're going to be doing sort of a tour of all of our open space sometime in the springtime. And we've also allocated some money to identify and mark and put markers at each of our open space. So
Wayfinding
this
signage.
is, timing is perfect for that. And this, I'm
great.
sure there'll be something there for her. Yes.
So I was going to say, like, as someone who knows very fondly and works with a family homestead every single day that's a legacy homestead, I think this is incredible. Also, just speaking to all this green, this land that I'm seeing here, right? It goes back to preserving our heritage in the sense that open space is so much more than just space, right? It's preserving our land that has been there for centuries. So I do think that that is remarkable. And if there is any way that this historian can assist with historical wayfinding signage, my email. I'd be happy to assist. So thank you so much for all you do.
Okay.
Great.
We have a motion. We have a second. No further discussion. Please call the roll, Mary Ellen.
Commissioner Tedesco,
Yes.
Commissioner Volpe,
Yes.
Commissioner Clark,
yes.
Commissioner Wilowski,
Yes.
alternate Commissioner Ma,
Yes.
Commissioner Santiago,
Yes.
Vice Chair Salka.
Yes.
Awesome.
Motion passes 7-0. Now it's on to town council. Okay, that concludes the business meeting. Any administrative items? I think, Pete, you covered
I
one.
didn't want.
We've already kind of gone over what I had, Mr.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah, just, Mr. Chair, maybe we want to, just for purposes of agenda, maybe we could talk to the chair, because a lot of times I think those of us who have subcommittees, Christina, Jen, myself, we kind of talk about it during commissioner discussion anyway, and we have this administrative
Could be,
subcommittee
yep.
thing there. Maybe just move that forward, because we end up talking about it anyway.
I agree, because it's like so fresh when we first see each other, that we want to
Yeah.
talk about it right away.
Particularly if we have things we need to vote on, you have to talk earlier rather than later. So maybe, Mary Ellen,
Just
and
remove
Bob
it.
Gazak
Just
do
remove
that.
it.
If we
Yeah, just
could
remove it.
maybe do that if people think that's
Yep.
a better way to agenda management.
I agree.
okay. Moving on to item 11. We have one item scheduled for, we have two. We have one item that's on the agenda. What's the second one, Mary Ellen?
Second one will be Anthony Properties. We just got it. Karen was out, so they will be back. We got the new application and they'll be scheduled for the March 1st.
Okay.
Oh, the one that was withdrawn.
Yeah, the one that was withdrawn.
Oh, okay. So they're coming back
Correct.
beginning of March.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So that would be the new application.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A second. Because.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Great.